Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be reviewing the second Assault expansion for Battlefield 4. The whole theme behind this expansion is to bring favorite maps from Battlefield 3 into Battlefield 4 and sort of upgrade them with Levolution and progress the storyline of the maps. In Caspian Border, it's a different time of year. The trees are starting to change color. There's been a large wall that's actually been built that much more reflects an actual border crossing, and this wall changes up the gameplay pretty drastically. Now it's very hard for armor to get from one side of the wall to the other. It's very easy to defend with engineers and landmines and all sorts of other things that can easily take out a tank. It's also become a great sniper haven, giving you easy access to targets on 3 different capture points, so the wall has changed things up dramatically. It does make some game modes a bit difficult to play though. Capture the flag I found very hard to do on this map. It just seemed to be way too defensive oriented, so both teams would have great defenses, and every offensive mount I saw on this map just ended in complete failure. So Capture the Flag, one of the new game modes introduced in the second Assault expansion, doesn't necessarily play out all that well on all the maps. Things that are welcome are the attention to detail, especially on Caspian Border. I think this is the best of the 4 maps that have been converted from Battlefield 3 into Battlefield 4. This map, aside from progressing the storyline, we've got really cool things like destroyed tanks and vehicles from the previous game sort of littering the battlefield. We've got the new cool dry grass effects where the grass catches on fire and starts burning up a whole area of the map, creating just this realistic like fire right in the middle of a combat zone. It's very cool to see, and I'm just loving the artwork and the attention to detail. In fact, I think that's my favorite thing about Battlefield 4 is honestly the artwork. The artists really haven't been given enough praise for this game because so much of the media, so much of the attention has really focused on bugs and glitches and netcode and stuff like that. But the artwork in Battlefield 4 is simply phenomenal. That being said, there are some peculiar things that have made it over into the final release, such as runways not being long enough to actually make a proper takeoff and ending up crashing at the end of the runway. Now, I did figure out how to take off after a little while. You really got to burn your afterburners from the second you start going forward and just stay to the left of the runway, and you can generally make it into the air, but weird oversights like this somehow made it into the final launch. And considering that some of the vehicles have essentially been vastly upgraded from Battlefield 3, such as the anti-aircraft tank, that now has great range in Caspian Border, and if situated properly, really can rain death from anywhere in the map. Hopefully the upcoming patch will fix this, but there's also some other weird things that you might not be expecting, like the AC-130. Whoever played Caspian Border on BF3 and thought, you know what, this map could use? An AC-130. Well, since Commander Mode is now a part of Battlefield 4, you're getting an AC-130, you're getting MAVs, you're getting the whole shebang wrapped up in Caspian Border, whether or not you like it. And for the most part, I gotta say, I don't like it. Now, I've switched over to a little Metro gameplay here. Speaking of Commander Mode, you'll notice that there's an MAV in the air, so great, so much for flanking routes or trying to surprise your enemies in any way whatsoever. Metro has been upgraded visually. It's been upgraded with some cool new Levolution stuff. There's been a flanking route added to the game. The only problem is that since Battlefield 3, grenades have gone on steroids. We've now got mini grenades, we got impact grenades, we got multiple grenade launchers, the LVG, just billions of things that you can shoot that explode that annoy people. We have an elevator now, which ends up essentially killing me in a giant fiery C4 explosion every time I try and use it, so don't go in the elevator, it's really just for show. I find it really hard to play a game of Metro in Battlefield 4 and enjoy the progression of the battle or the fun part of the map. I recommend searching for a server that has explosives disabled on it so you can try and actually get into some good firefights. It's really a shame that grenades have just become so spammy in Battlefield 4 because I feel that they're taking away from some maps or some good map design that would otherwise function fairly well, but since there's just grenades landing every other second and screen shake non-stop, it really takes away from any sort of tactical advances one could possibly make. Operation Firestorm, on the other hand, plays out very similarly to the way it played out in Battlefield 3. There's a cool few levolution things here and there that add a little bit more cover to certain parts of the map. Vast desert areas now have a few more potholes in them and a few more little pieces of debris and broken down tanks that soldiers can hide behind, so it is definitely a vehicle friendly map. But infantry have gotten a huge upgrade since Battlefield 3, and now they can really fight back very effectively. There's a lot of rooftops you can get onto easily, just like in the Battlefield 3 version. In fact, I would say maybe even easier now, and tons of anti-vehicular weapons to play around with and just wreck tanks. Tanks are really not going to last too long in this map unless you got a great tank team going and your team's got some good air support. Now, although I would say Firestorm is a pretty successful conversion map from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4, I'm not too sure that many people really wanted it in the first place. It's not that it's a bad map, it's just that there were so many other maps I feel that people really would have liked to see. One of my favorites is Karkand. It's made it into many Battlefield games before. It's a great infantry map, and it also offers some little bits of armored vehicle gameplay here and there. But I know a lot of people wanted to see that map, so it surprises me, I guess, that Firestorm was picked over that, because I really don't feel that Firestorm was at the top of anybody's list. And the same holds true for Gulf of Oman. Even though Gulf of Oman does represent a classic Battlefield map, this was the Battlefield 2 demo map that I just played for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours until Battlefield 2 finally came out. I loved it at the time. I thought it was the greatest thing ever, but the map layout is a little bit dated. The sandstorm that rolls in is definitely a very cool effect, and it changes things up pretty drastically. If a helicopter was dominating earlier in the round, it's certainly not going to be later in the round. One of the issues I found with it, though, as you can see here, especially on the ticket count, is that sandstorm seems to roll in pretty quickly, and then you're playing the entire rest of the round in the middle of a sandstorm if you're playing on a high ticket server. It would be cool if the sandstorm rolled in halfway, so you get a little bit of nice clear blue skies and then some of the crazy close quarter mayhem that ensues after the sandstorm rolls in. The new weapon additions have been pretty successful. I'm a big fan of the new sniper rifle, the new machine gun, even the new shotgun, so I think overall, we've gotten some really good weapons that are definitely going to add something to the Battlefield game, which is a hard thing to say when you've got a game that already has so many different guns in it. Game mode wise, I've already mentioned that CTF really didn't work out so well on Caspian Border. It works out even worse on maps like Metro. In fact, that's a joke. That shouldn't even be in the game. DICE seems to have this sort of list of things that they have to put in each expansion. Game modes is one of them. I guess CTF was next up, and it just really doesn't work out so well on these maps. So in conclusion, I will say that the weapons are probably the most successful part of this expansion. 2 of the 4 maps seem like appropriate maps to carry over. I really don't understand Firestorm or Gulf of Oman. I don't think they play out particularly well, nor have they been changed in any sort of significant way to really revitalize the gameplay or change things up. Overall, definitely not the most successful expansion. I really feel that some of the cooler things of this expansion, like the Operation Metro map, are really suffering from some of Battlefield 4's inherent problems, like too much grenade spam. If you have a good close quarter map in Battlefield 4, it's going to get ruined by grenade spam. It doesn't really matter what the map design is. There's just too many explosives and too much explosive spam in this game. So that pretty much wraps it up for my second Assault review. I'm still really looking forward to the naval expansion for Battlefield 4. Very curious to see how that's going to play out. Let me know in the comments which 4 maps you would have liked to see for Second Assault. Would these 4 maps have been your top picks, or would they have been something completely different? As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.